as I'm sure everyone knows, there have been some major shakeups over at CBS, and none of them have really been good. Bari Weiss is doing her best, I assume, to not be completely embarrassed by her network's performance, but it's becoming increasingly difficult for her to do that. Cenk, what are your thoughts on everything going on over at that network right now?
What I'm amused by is not CBS, but the rest of the news media, all pretending that CBS is still a real station. No, it was bought by the Ellisons, the #1 donors to the IDF. Netanyahu pretty much bragged that Ellison bought CBS for them, and now they're firing anyone who would even dare to think about something negative about Israel, and putting in their place total tools for a different country. That's so obvious. But okay, let's tell you about how they're doing it. And again, I'm amused by the rest of the media's reaction.
Yeah, so speaking of David Ellison, so he anointed Bari Weiss to be the head of CBS last year, and Bill Owens stepped down as the longtime executive producer of 60 Minutes, saying in a memo obtained by the New York Times, he said, "Over the past months, it has become clear that I would not be allowed to run the show as I have always run it, to make independent decisions based on what was right for 60 Minutes, right for the audience." So then when he stepped down, Bari Weiss promoted Tanya Simon, who is the daughter of the legendary CBS correspondent Bob Simon, as Owens' replacement. And it kind of signaled to CBS staff like something of a willingness to uphold 60 Minutes' sterling reputation, and it really did have a stellar reputation. However, after just over a year in that role, as of this morning, Simon has officially been ousted from CBS. So who is replacing her? It is a technology journalist named Nick Bilton, who has most recently worked as a correspondent for Vanity Fair. And Bilton's ascension to this role is very similar to Weiss's ascension to the head of CBS, in that both of them entered very high-ranking roles within the network, despite not having any of the requisite experience that you would expect for someone in that role. So Bilton said in a statement to the staff that he considers the new role the honor of his career, because like what else would be? But as The Guardian points out, while Bilton has a lengthy career as a tech journalist and documentary filmmaker, he has not produced a broadcast television program, and certainly not one with the history and complexities of 60 Minutes. Weiss also began her role as editor-in-chief of the network in October 2025, with a background in opinion commentary, but no experience in television news. So there seems to be a pattern here. They don't like experienced people for some reason, because maybe they're easier to manipulate, but that's just my musings over here. So the firings didn't stop there, of course. The network has also parted ways with Cecilia Vega, a 60 Minutes correspondent who joined the program back in 2023, and Dragan Mikhailovich, the executive editor who had spent decades on the show. And earlier on Thursday morning, a representative for the veteran correspondent Sharon Alfonsi confirmed that she was terminated by the network. Alfonsi said a day earlier that her contract had not been renewed and that she remained an at-will employee. So Alfonsi, you might actually remember her. She has publicly attributed her contract to not being renewed to that infamous CCOT story, where she was chronicling the abuse of migrant detainees sent to the El Salvadorian prison. And that was a story that Bari Weiss, as soon as she turned up to CBS, she shelved the whole thing because Donald Trump did not want it out there. And that was a decision that she did, and it really set the tone for what CBS under Bari Weiss was going to be. And Alfonsi, of the incident, she had this to say. She said, "Following an intense editorial dispute over our prison story, repeated attempts by my representation to establish a path forward were met with absolute silence from network executives. The message could not be clearer. My time at 60 Minutes is apparently over." And that was from Sharon. So all of these firings, it's considered to be a clearing of grievances of sorts, especially since the ousting of Simon coincides with Weiss's frustration over the abrupt departure of Anderson Cooper. And Anderson Cooper, everybody knows that name. He had a lot of pull, but he left, and this is what he had to say as he walked out the door. He said, "Things can always evolve and change, and I think that's awesome, and things should evolve and change. but I hope the core of what 60 Minutes is always remains. I think the independence of 60 Minutes has been critical. And Weiss was reportedly blindsided by Cooper's departure, and she was furious that nobody even told her about it. He just left without her letting her know. But the public has now been taking shots at CBS and, by extension, to Bari Weiss and other media elites. But recently, Sergio Campos, a high school student who won the Mike Wallace Scholarship for his coverage on the immigration crackdowns, had this to say.
I want to also acknowledge how the recent direction of the outlet stains the legacy of Mike Wallace, the namesake of this scholarship. As corporate elites take hold, over the very pipes through which our information flows, journalism that serves the people becomes increasingly harder to come by, yet ever more crucial. And what the people want is the truth. So if at any time you hesitate to utter the word genocide or remain silent in the face of blatant lies, remember to ask yourself, who is this for? I hope you choose us. Thank you.
So now we have Nick Bilton in the role. He's going to be overlooking 60 Minutes. That show is just not going to be what it used to be. It's just going to be a different show. Bilton says he has a notebook full of ideas, and I'm sure we all will be so excited to hear what his plans are for the network.
So apparently Trump is calling for unity after another violent incident. And of course, depending on where you get your news, that story gets framed in completely different ways. On the right, the angle is that Trump is a uniquely powerful figure who keeps getting targeted because he's so effective. On the left, the focus is on something much more uncomfortable for them to deal with: Trump's long relationship with violent rhetoric and the political climate that he's helped to create. Now, you just saw how easy it is to look at one story and immediately compare two completely different narratives. And that is exactly why I recommend Ground News. It's a website and app that pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum so you can compare headlines side by side, see the bias distribution of the coverage, check the factuality ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets behind the reporting. Because once you start looking at coverage that way, it becomes a lot easier to see when the media isn't informing you, it's managing your perception. Ground News also has a blind spot feed, which highlights stories that one side of the political spectrum is barely covering at all, so you're not trapped inside the version of events your media bubble wants you to accept. Go to ground.news/TYT or scan the QR code and get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. It's a great deal.
Cenk, what can we expect from the new CBS?
God, I would love to get my hands on that notebook.
That notebook?
Guess is, yeah, you open up the notebook and all it says is Israel, 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 Israel. All work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy. I will always cover for Israel. I will always cover for Israel. I know, brother, I know. We'll get back to the interview and him in a second. First, I want to give a shout out to Campos, that high school student you just saw. Wins a scholarship from CBS. Look at the guts on that kid. Nice job. That's how you do real journalism. This kid's got TYT written all over him. Okay, we'll be looking out. Way to take it to him, and not just about CBS overall, but mentioning the genocide. So that is very bold and brave, because of course, if you want to work in American media, you can't say the truth about the genocide. You'll never get hired. And if you say when you already work there, you'll get fired by someone like Bari Weiss. So look, now let's turn to CBS. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, oh, they're trying to kiss up to Donald Trump, and that's why they got rid of Colbert, and they're just right wingers and blah. No, Larry Ellison has given a ton of money to Democrats before. The only reason that they care about Trump now is because Trump is doing whatever Israel wants. Here, I'll make you a guarantee. Now there's a big if Trump ever defies Israel, then CBS will no longer be pro-Trump. They'll be like, oh, I don't know that he's fit for office, and he's changed a lot recently, and they'll have all of their anchors and puppets with Netanyahu's arms right up their asses. Oh, we are worried about Trump. Now they're like, oh, Trump is doing what Israel wants. He is great. We love Trump. We will fire Colbert for you. because the Ellisons didn't spend all that money to make more money with news media. It's CBS is a dying brand. The average age of their audience is like 98. No, he bought it for his beloved Israel to do propaganda. It actually has nothing to do with Trump. Like I said, guaranteed, if Trump turns on Israel, CBS will turn on Trump. Not only Ellison, almost all of the pro-Israel donors, Miriam Adelson, so many others, gave to Bill Clinton, have given to Democrats, give to Republicans, because they don't have an ideology outside of Israel, make the Americans serve Israel, right? Yeah, that's what you guys look like. So I'm amused by the idea of Bilton's interview, right? My guess is there was only one question. So what do you think about Israel? And my guess is his answer was, I love it more than life. And I've got a lot of ideas about what we could do about housing market and affordability. They're like, no, you already got the job, move on. We don't care about anything else. You already gave the correct answer that you will crawl up Israel's ass and do whatever you're commanded to do on their behalf by Bari Weiss. Bari Weiss is, of course, only works for Israel. She's not known for anything other than kissing Israel's ass and doing propaganda for Israel. And she's the queen of cancel culture. She started cancel culture on campuses, college campuses so long ago. She would make names of anyone who was not just critical of Israel, but pro-Palestinian, and then she would try to ruin their lives. Now she's graduated up to being able to do that with the might of CBS News. So guys, stop the fake debates. I mean, I see all these people on TV like, oh, what do you think will happen with CBS? CBS is so important. Oh, what kind of news do you think they'll do? Are they slightly more right wing? What is this nonsense conversation? CBS is nothing but Hasbara now. So you should ignore it. You'd be an idiot to think that was real news. So 60 Minutes is an awesome institution and has done great journalism in the past, but it's now dead. You're not looking at 60 Minutes, you're looking at the zombie version of 60 Minutes controlled by Israel. So every reporter on there, Israel is the greatest, Americans must give money to Israel, otherwise they're anti-Semites. They're all zombies. No self-respecting person would stay at that junk organization. And look, guys, Anderson Cooper hasn't met an Israeli talking point he didn't want to make out with. And even he was like, that's a bit much. Okay, come on. Come on. We have nothing but fake conversations in American media. No, watching CBS is crazy at this point. Of course their news isn't real news. It's literally propaganda made for the express purpose of brainwashing you. Who would want to get voluntarily brainwashed? Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.